Earlier this week, Paul Ryan formally introduced the American Health Care Act, also known as Trump Care. Now, he introduced this, interestingly, as an act of mercy. Let's take a look.
This bill, the American Health Care Act, it keeps our promise to repeal and replace Obamacare. It delivers relief to Americans fed up with skyrocketing premiums and fewer choices. It moves us away from the broken status quo toward a better, patient-centered system. Let's not forget, Obamacare is collapsing. Obamacare isn't staying. If we did nothing, the law would collapse and leave everybody without affordable health care. We are doing an act of mercy.
An act of mercy. Now, notice how he laughed on that. Act of mercy. Sucker. Act of mercy. Okay, well, that's hilarious. But not really, because, hey, there are actually lives involved. But no, basically he's saying, though, if we did nothing, hey, Obamacare would collapse. Well, that's because you want it to collapse. Look, you see it has some real issues. And I pointed that out in numerous other videos, right? I think the way to go is a single payer. Now, the American people also know the ACA has a lot of issues. Now, they saw that, and they said, we want you to fix it. In fact, you can go and check all the polls. A majority of people say, the ACA, fix it. Don't eliminate it. Fix it. Do something about it. Make it better. This bill does not make it better. Their fix is a big giveaway to the rich, with the top 1% getting an average of $200,000 in tax breaks, which amounts to billions of dollars per year. While the average working American's premiums are expected to go up at least $1,500 and more if you're older. And of course, it will end up kicking millions of people off healthcare, the people that need it the most. So that's what's going on here. But hey, no, act of mercy. Really? For who? For who? Now, you had Democratic Senator Joe Kennedy, the third, saying something about Paul Ryan's mercy. And interestingly enough, he gets a little bit of help from Paul Ryan's favorite book, the Bible.
Chairman, I was struck last night by a comment that I heard made by Speaker Ryan, where he called this repeal bill, quote, an act of mercy. With all due respect to our speaker, he and I must have read different scripture. The one that I read calls on us to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to shelter the homeless, and to comfort the sick. It reminds us that we are judged not by how we treat the powerful, but by how we care for the least among us. Mercy. Defined in purely secular terms, it's compassionate treatment for those in distress. It's kindness. It is grace. There is no mercy in a system that makes healthcare a luxury. There's no mercy in a country that turns their back on those most in need of protection, the elderly, the poor, the sick, and the suffering. There's no mercy in a cold shoulder to the mentally ill. There's no mercy in a policy that takes for granted the sweat, the tears, and the sacrifice of working Americans that they shed every day so that they might care for their family's basic needs, food, shelter, health, and hope for tomorrow. There's no mercy for the 2.6 million people who will lose their job if Obamacare is repealed. This is not an act of mercy.
Chair now recognizes the gentlelady.
Preach it, brother. Preach it. Literally. That's exactly what he was doing. Look, he said it. If you didn't hear while he was getting interrupted, this is not an act of mercy, it's an act of malice. Now, Paul Ryan claims to be this great, wonderful, biblical Christian, right? But what he's done is unchristian. He's essentially tried to do, he's essentially done everything he could to kick poor people in the teeth. That's what this happens. Look, what, you need food stamps to live? Let's cut billions of dollars from that program so you get cut off. Oh, you need Medicaid? Sorry, too expensive. We're going to have to cut that. We're going to have to get rid of that. Hey, rich people, need another tax cut? We can hook you up. Anything for you, boss. That's not a Christian. Look, Jesus Christ hated wealth. He hated wealth. He gave up all of his possessions to the poor and told anybody who would dare follow him, do the same. Hey, if you're going to follow me, well then, you're going to have to give your shit to the poor. That's it. And he told, and again, a rich man has a better chance of squeezing a camel through the eye of a needle than actually getting into heaven. That's in the Bible. It's in the same book that Paul Ryan loves. Now, look, he is the opposite of a Christian. He ends up giving more to the rich, more to himself, and tells the poor and the homeless to get a job. You know that this repeal bill will end up killing tens of thousands of people since they can no longer afford their own health care. Come on, come on. Well, look, you've got access to health care. That's what they always say, right? Access to health care doesn't mean you can afford to use it. One of the big issues with Obamacare is that you had high deductibles. You had super high deductibles. People couldn't use their insurance because they couldn't afford that deductible. In that situation, they had access, but they couldn't use that health care. It's the same thing. Trump's care is not getting rid of that problem. No, you're still going to have higher deductibles, and you're going to have less regulation and less price controls. It's not going to help. Well, you can always go to the emergency room then, right? I mean, these Republicans are coming out and saying, well, let's just go back to emergency room care. Well, how very Christian of you. And I don't think that will help. Tell that to the guy dying of cancer because he can't afford a treatment on top of his expensive health insurance premiums, if he can even afford that insurance. And look, what's the emergency room going to do for that guy? Nothing. Well, you should have bought health insurance. Oh, you mean the health insurance that I should have bought that would have cost me 30% extra because I wasn't covered before? Unchristian. What part of, hey, they're poor, don't you understand? Oh, but you guys, you're buying iPhones instead of buying your insurance. Okay, well, let's do some math on that, right? An iPhone, one of the nicest, newest iPhones out there, about $700. Pricey, for sure. Now, how much can it cost for cancer? It can cost anywhere from $7,000 to $70,000 for an 8-week chemotherapy treatment. Sometimes even over $100,000, depending on the type of cancer and the treatment options, the medication that you have to use. Now, let's take the $7,000 figure, the lowest figure that I can find. That equals 10 iPhones in an 8-week period. 10. So, what about $70,000 on the upper range? That's 100 iPhones. That's not even counting insurance premiums. That's just for the 8-week course of chemo. And of course, health insurance premiums. Well, under Trump care, it could range from $700 a month to over $1,400 a month, or even more. So what you're going to be doing is basically you're buying the equivalent of more than 1 to 2 iPhones a month. And I'm using the iPhone as an example because, look, people like Jason Chaffetz think health insurance is a luxury good just like a new phone. I hate to break it to you, Jason. It's not a luxury. It's health. It's something that it's nice to have, but you kind of need it. A phone is nice to have too, but you don't need it. No, but they think that, no, it is a luxury. And, you just need to be more responsible with your money. No. Look, Kennedy's right. This bill isn't mercy. It is malice. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.